What's up, guys? Mike Olson here, as always, with my partner Justin Moody. We are the Moody Olson team, and this is our channel, Moving to Las Vegas. Today, we are bringing you the next in our series of Vegas versus videos. This one is another special request that we got from the viewers in the comments. This is Vegas versus Orlando. Justin, have you been to Orlando?
Several times.
I've yet to spend any time in Orlando, but I've heard a lot of great things. I've spent quite a bit of time in Florida in general, especially in the Tampa area and up in the Panhandle. But I'm very much looking forward to getting to spend some time in Orlando one day. So as always, we go ahead and compare the two cities across 6 different metrics. We use the same data sources for every single video so that we try to keep a consistency, and you guys can go and follow up and check and make sure that the stuff that we tell you is good, accurate information. We don't want you to take our word for it. We want you to do your own research. We want you to be an informed consumer. So the 6 things that we compare across the two cities are the job market, the housing market, the cost of living, the crime rates, nightlife and dining, and outdoor entertainment or outdoor living. We're going to start off, per usual, with the housing market.
Okay, so the Orlando housing market is still a place where you can get a fairly good deal. One of the few cities in the country where there's still some affordability. The average price right now for a home in Orlando is about $388,000, and that's going to be your standard 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, versus Las Vegas, where you're going to be closer to $421,000. Now, you have to take in consideration this. Orlando is much more densely populated than Las Vegas. Plus, you have a lot of kind of satellite cities around Orlando, like Kissimmee and Windermere and Celebration, where those prices can get much higher.
Sure.
Once you get out of Orlando proper and you start getting into Windermere or Celebration, you're going to start to see home prices jump in price, $500,000 to $800,000. Basically look at it this way. The closer you get to the amusement parks, the higher the cost is going to be. One thing that did stand out is the average price per square foot on a home, $241.
Wow.
The average price per square foot in Las Vegas, $248. So not a big difference.
It's very comparable.
Yeah, so what that tells me is that maybe the homes are a little bit smaller in the Orlando area because of that population density. You definitely want to take that into consideration when you're thinking about moving. And again, where do you want to be in Orlando? And we'll let Mike kind of talk about some of the other things that might influence your move to Orlando in the future. But again, if you want to be close to the parks, or if you want to be just outside of Orlando, closer to the ocean, your prices are going to jump. Absolutely, for sure.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that unless you work at the park and therefore you want to be close for commuting purposes, it would make sense to me to want to be a little further away from where all the tourists congregate.
You would think that, but if you look at cities like Windermere, like Celebration, they're in high demand.
Interesting.
People are snapping up properties out there left and right. There are actually several influencers on YouTube that I follow that live in those areas, and they talk about how hard it is to get real estate in those areas.
Wow. Learning something new every day?
Every day.
So moving on to talking about the cost of living and the difference between Las Vegas and Orlando, Florida. As always, I am using the NerdWallet cost of living calculator and the cost of living comparison tool. So what I went ahead and did, and if this is the first time you've seen one of our Vegas versus videos, I start with the city that we are comparing Vegas to, so in this case Orlando, and then I do a little bit of research and I find out what is the median income in that city. I put that stuff into the cost of living comparison tool, and then I put in Las Vegas. I see what NerdWallet tells me as far as how does the cost of living compare between the two cities. So in this case, Orlando has a median pre-tax household income of $71,551. So when I put that into the NerdWallet cost of living calculator, it tells me to maintain the same standard of living in Las Vegas, I would need to make $72,136. Which is to say, the cost of living is almost a wash.
Yeah.
You're talking about a difference of only about $700. So very, very similar cost of living. I will give Orlando this. They do have a slightly higher median household income at $72,136 compared to Las Vegas's current median household income of about $69,900. So you do make slightly less in Las Vegas, and you do spend slightly more in Las Vegas. However, we're talking on the order of less than $1,000 in both categories, which is to say, again, it's almost a dead even heat between the two cities, both in how much money you can make and how much money it's going to cost you to live. So just to break those numbers down a little bit deeper for you, if we look at the housing cost, I know Justin already talked to you a little bit about their housing market, so we're going to keep these numbers a little more broad and a little more general. So the rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Orlando is actually going to be a little bit higher than the rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Las Vegas, with a Las Vegas apartment costing you $1,627 per month versus the Orlando apartment costing you $1,860 a month. So when it comes to the rental costs, you're going to do a little bit better in Las Vegas. So let's go ahead and dig deeper and find out where Orlando is making up those numbers. The first place that Orlando is beating Las Vegas is in the price of gas. In Orlando, you're paying about $3.45 a gallon versus $4.16 a gallon in Las Vegas. Now, I have to remind you guys, these are not the most current numbers. These are updated annually. However, that difference of about 75 cents shows you the average difference in gas prices between the two cities. So if gas is a little bit higher in Orlando right now, it's a little bit higher in Las Vegas right now as well. And if gas prices go down in Orlando, gas prices tend to fluctuate on a national basis. So if they're going to fluctuate down in Orlando, they're also going to fluctuate down in Las Vegas, and it's going to maintain a very similar disparity. When it comes time to buy your groceries, you are also going to come out ahead if you are in Orlando. About 8% difference between the cost of groceries in Orlando versus the cost of groceries in Las Vegas.
I hear all the time that Orlando has the best chain of grocery stores.
What's that?
Publix.
Really?
Have you heard of Publix?
I have heard of Publix. It's a discount chain of grocery stores, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure if it's a discount chain, but several of the influencers that I follow and friends that I have in that area are always talking about how they love shopping at Publix.
Yeah, I've never been to a Publix, but I have heard of the chain. I have seen various YouTubers talking about Publix, especially when they're doing grocery comparison type videos. So, if you're from Orlando and you can tell us about Publix, drop a comment down
Please
below.
do.
So going back to the cost of groceries, again, you're talking about an 8% difference in favor of Orlando. So for a loaf of bread in Orlando, you're looking at about $4.25 versus you're looking at about $4.50 in Las Vegas. A dozen eggs is also going to be about $1.50 higher in Las Vegas as opposed to Orlando. A gallon of milk, you're looking at a difference of only about 20 cents. 12-inch Pizza Hut pizza, you're looking at about $1 more in Las Vegas versus Orlando. However, if you go to McDonald's, that quarter pounder is actually going to be about $1 and change cheaper in Vegas than Orlando. So that's an interesting fact.
Interesting. Okay.
Moving on from groceries, entertainment costs. Orlando's going to be about 13% cheaper on entertainment costs, and on healthcare costs, Orlando's going to be about 4% cheaper than Las Vegas. Again, guys, we're really splitting hairs here. When it comes to the cost of living between these two cities, they are virtually identical. And when it comes to the median household income, also virtually identical. The bottom line is, cost of living is probably not going to be your deciding factor if you're trying to figure out whether you want to move to Orlando or whether you want to move to Las Vegas. So let's move on from there. Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're going to afford that cost of living? Let's talk about the relative job markets between those two cities.
Okay. So talking about the job markets, there's going to be some crossover. If you're living in the Orlando area, there's a good chance that you're in the hospitality industry. Just like if you're living in Vegas, there's a good chance you're in the hospitality industry.
They are two cities very driven by tourism.
Absolutely. So in Vegas, you're going to see a lot of, obviously, hotel and gaming jobs. Information technology, communication technology is growing out here. Healthcare and education are also growing out here. So those are going to be some of the top job opportunities. In Orlando, it's going to be very similar with just a few small differences. Some of the top employers in Orlando, can you guess?
I'm going to go with the Walt Disney Corporation.
Yes. So the theme parks are definitely going to be one of the big employers out there with, they have, I think it's the 5 theme parks. You have Walt Disney World, Animal Kingdom, Epcot Center, Hollywood Studios, and then there's a couple of water parks that Disney owns as well.
Sure.
So there's a lot of, so obviously they're employing a lot of people. And you have Universal Studios Orlando out there, and then you have Universal World, a brand new park that Universal's building out there that is going to dwarf Universal Florida. And this is going to be a major employer out there. So you do have some defense contracting jobs out there as well. I know we have some here as well, but you have big companies out there like Lockheed Martin. And then of course the school system, and the universities are very big employers out there as well.
Well, and don't forget as well that because it is a tourist town, not only do you have all of those major theme parks and the employment that they bring, but you have all of the supporting the hotels and the restaurants as well. So just like Las Vegas, there's as much of a chance of you working in the hotel industry or in the restaurant industry as there is working in the casino industry. I'm sure it's the same in Orlando.
And it's wild is that actually the biggest hotels in that area are usually owned by Disney. They're Disney hotels. So I just kind of lumped them all in there. But yeah, absolutely. The opportunity to work in the hotel industry, restaurant industry, the service industry in general, both cities are definitely going to be very accommodating. Now, Vegas right now sits at about a 5.9 job index, which is a little below the national average, but it sits above the national average in available jobs. Employers are really starting to incentivize new employees to come to their company and get their businesses going. Florida and Nevada are both very business friendly, so you're going to see a lot of startups, a lot of entrepreneurship, just like here. Now in Orlando, their employment rating is at 6.2%. So they're obviously a little bit higher, not by much, but a little bit. And again, that is another growing economy. According to US News, Las Vegas and Orlando are two of the fastest growing and highly predicted job economies going to 2024, 2025. So that's the job market in a nutshell.
We've come to that point in time in the video. It's never our favorite thing to talk about, but it's important for us to bring it up. We're going to talk about the relative crime statistics between the two cities. I am using the US News report crime statistics for both cities. And just to cut right to the point, Las Vegas is the safer city.
Okay.
So US News, they use a 1 to 10 system to rate cities based on their overall crime rates. Las Vegas comes in at an 8 and Orlando comes in at a 7.2. Now, how does that break down as far as violent crime and property crime? Well, on the property crime front, Las Vegas is looking at about 2,924 crimes per 100,000 people, as opposed to Orlando, where you're looking at 4,028 property crimes per 100,000 people.
That's substantial.
It is, so it's about a third higher in Orlando for the property crime rate. Taking a look over at the violent crime rate, it's a little bit closer, but Las Vegas still comes out ahead, with Las Vegas coming in at 517 violent crimes per 100,000 people, as opposed to Orlando coming in at 835 violent crimes per 100,000 people. So, not a substantial variance in the violent crime, and the overall crime rate is relatively similar, but the property crime rate is definitely higher, which I do find surprising given that both towns have a relatively tourism-based economy. But the numbers are what the numbers are. I would encourage you to get online, put in the crime rates, take a look for yourself, see what you can find, and make the best decision for you and your family.
You know, it's funny that we're talking about how Orlando and Las Vegas are both big tourism destinations. It's definitely different types of tourists.
It is very different types of tourism. Despite the, I would argue, misguided pro-family tourism message that Vegas had about 10 years ago, Vegas tourism is very much adult-oriented with gambling and drinking at the forefront of the tourism industry here. Not that we don't have family-friendly things to do. We have plenty of them. Justin and I have made multiple videos on the family-friendly things that you can do here in Vegas. But if you're coming here as a tourist, chances are you're not bringing your kids, or if you are bringing your kids, you're going to have a different tourist experience than the norm. As opposed to Orlando, where if you're going there for tourism purposes, chances are you're almost definitely taking your kids. And the whole vacation is probably based around what those kids want to do. Very few people come to Vegas specifically to base their vacation around what their kids want to do. Not saying it doesn't happen, just saying I've lived here for a few years now. It's definitely not the norm.
Yeah, I agree. And that leads us perfectly into our next talking point. I'm going to talk about entertainment and nightlife. You've heard Mike and I talk about, if you've watched our videos, you've heard us talk dozens of times about how we feel Las Vegas, hands down, the best nightlife there is on the planet. When it comes to concerts, restaurants, clubs, just the general vibe in itself, you can't beat the nightlife in Vegas.
Cannot.
The headliners that we get, Broadway and off-Broadway shows that we get, the stand-up comedians, the food fairs, just all these great things that we get. F1 is here, we have NASCAR, we have the Raiders, we have basketball, we have baseball coming soon, we have great hockey. So really the entertainment and nightlife here is hands down by far probably unsurpassed. Now, Orlando has its own different set of entertainment and nightlife. If you stay in Orlando proper, you're going to find some great bars and restaurants, some great downtown vibe areas, some higher end places. I haven't really had a chance to explore a lot of the Orlando area. The times that I was in Orlando itself, actually Orlando proper, I just wasn't in areas that I felt comfortable being in and going out and having a drink and the people we're with were saying, yeah, this is not necessarily the best time or place to go out and do that. Now, if you're like Mike and I were saying, you're with your family, you're going to be spending a lot more time at either Disney or Universal, one of the major theme parks out there, and obviously Vegas isn't going to compete with that. If you're a Disney adult or if you're out there with your family, we can't compete with the parks. What I can say is our prices on hotel rooms and dinners and restaurants are definitely have a competitive advantage. Being a father, I've gone to Disney World several times. It sets you back. I mean, just if I were to take a family of 4 to Disney World for 3-4 days, it's going to be close to $10,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the Orlando area is I love to cruise. So when I land at MCO, Orlando Airport, I'm an hour drive away from Port Canaveral. I can get on my cruise ship and I'm gone. I'm gone for my 7-day cruise. I'll be out there in April taking my daughter on her first Disney cruise.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. So there's definitely going to be some advantages with the Orlando area, but depending again on the type of vacation entertainment you're looking for, or just what you're trying to do on a daily basis. If you live in Orlando and you're not a Disney adult, more than likely you're not going to the parks very often. You're looking for other things to do.
I'm sure, just as we always say that we locals don't hang out down at the Strip.
Yeah.
That's for the tourists.
Yes.
So.
And those hardcore Disney adults.
Or the hardcore gamblers.
Or the hardcore gamblers, absolutely.
Right, fair enough. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up with our last talking point, which is going to be outdoor living or outdoor entertainment. And obviously, you're talking about 2 very different locations. With Las Vegas, we are obviously in the desert, so our outdoor entertainment is going to be based around things like Lake Mead, or Mount Charleston, or the Red Rocks Canyon, or the Grand Canyon. You're talking about outdoor living in a desert environment.
Yeah.
So dirt biking is popular here, rock climbing is popular here, boating on the lake, obviously very popular here. There are other options as well, such as cycling is a popular thing to do here. Golf is very popular, as you guys know. Justin and I are big golfing fanatics, and that would be one place where we do have quite a bit of crossover with Orlando. Let me stop you there. Please do.
Well, yes, Orlando has some beautiful golf courses, and I've been lucky to play on a couple of them. I will say this, there is a difference in golfing in 95-degree weather with 5% humidity versus golfing in 85-degree weather with 90% humidity.
Oh, I'm aware.
So I think we have to take that into consideration when we talk about outdoor living. Are you a dry heat type of person, or are you an oppressive, humidity, sweating, never being able to dry off type of person?
I mean, the bottom line is that humidity is a large part of why I chose Las Vegas over Florida, because Florida was a place that I was considering when I made my most recent move, and the humidity was a big part of why I didn't choose to move there.
Yes.
I do not care for the humidity. I've lived in North Carolina, I've lived in Texas, I've spent a substantial amount of time in Tennessee and Georgia. When I was doing training for the military, I went to basic training in Kentucky. I know humidity, and I know that I don't care for it. So that's why I live in Las Vegas. However, you can't argue with the fact that they do have some phenomenal golf there.
They do. Those courses I've played, like I said, I played two golf courses out there. They were gorgeous courses. I mean, I didn't really care for the alligator.
That is a consideration. There are gators on the course.
And I tend to like to play near the water or in the water at times. So I wouldn't say that their golf courses are any better than ours. They're just a lot different. And playing in that humidity was definitely a big factor for me.
Did you know that Florida is not only the golf capital of the United States in golf courses per capita, but for very similar reasons, it is also the lightning strike capital of the United States.
Interesting. I did not know that.
You have a state that has frequent thunderstorms filled with men swinging metal clubs above their heads.
Interesting. I would think that Nevada would have been higher on that because we have so much metal in the ground.
You would think so, but nope, Florida. Moving on, talking about outdoor entertainment and outdoor recreation. So obviously, Florida is in the south, Orlando is in the south, so it is going to be a paradise if you're into things like hunting and fishing. If you're into those sorts of outdoor activities, Las Vegas, or Nevada in general. We can't hold a candle to that. Do we have hunting? Sure we do. Do we have fishing? Absolutely. But it's not going to be anything like the hunting and fishing that you're going to get out there in the South and in Florida specifically. I have lots of friends that live in that area, and all of them are big hunters. They're all big fishermen. They're big outdoorsmen. And that's part of the reason why they choose to live there. Me personally, I like to play golf.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't live there.
Gotcha.
I can do that here. And like you said, I can get out of the 80% humidity. But just to wrap things up, guys, outdoor life is going to be very different. In Las Vegas, you're going to have a desert environment. You do have desert-like activities such as boating, such as hiking, such as rock climbing, such as off-road recreational vehicles. Florida is going to be much more about hunting, much more about fishing. You do have the ocean relatively close by.
About an hour from Orlando.
Right. Orlando's not right on the water, but it's only about an hour away, which is 3 hours closer than we are here in Las Vegas from the beaches of Southern California. Florida's also going to give you access to the other parts of the South. So you're going to be a lot closer to places like Miami and Tampa and Atlanta. Whereas here in Las Vegas, you know, our nearest major cities that we would be able to go and enjoy ourselves in are going to be Phoenix and Los Angeles and San Diego.
Well, and Orlando and Tampa are very similar in drive time from, I would say, Las Vegas and Los Angeles.
Okay.
About a 3-hour drive.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up. What did we miss? Are you familiar with both Las Vegas and Orlando? Is there something that we left out that we should have thrown in this video? Make sure that you leave a comment below. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever we put out a new video. We're putting out 2 videos every week of the best locals Vegas and real estate Vegas. No, hang on. Of the best locals knowledge for Las Vegas, along with the best market knowledge for the real estate market here in the Southern Nevada area. If you need lending help, make sure that you reach out to our partners, Steven Schauer and Linda Vo. They're the best in town. Steve's been doing this for well over 20 years. They can help you find out exactly what you qualify for, what kind of rate you can get. And if you don't qualify for what you want right now, they can give you the roadmap to get there. They can teach you how you can get your credit where it needs to be. They can tell you how much money you need to save for that down payment. They can help you find the loan vehicle that's going to work for you to help you buy that dream home. When you are ready to start shopping for that dream home, reach out to Justin and I here at the Moody Olson team. We promise that nobody's going to work harder for you and help you find your dream home for you and your family here in Las Vegas. And until next time, guys, I'm Mike.
I'm Justin.
We're out of here.